Lovely. What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the workshop. I hope you're all keeping well. Now, in this video, I'm going to be making some homemade clamps. So these are a great option if you're woodworking on a budget, or if you just happen to be short a few clamps and you need to make them up quickly, or if you're out on site, you need to make a few clamps. You can do this with a couple of pieces of timber, 2x1 lats and a few screws, and you can make clamps just like these. I'll make them a little bit more elaborate in this video, but not much. It takes 10 minutes to put these together. So without further ado, let's go build ourselves some homemade clamps. Okay guys, very quickly, this is what I'm going to be using to make these. So we just have some 6mm bolts or 1/4" bolts. These are coach bolts, so they have a little square end on them here. I have some 6mm washers, and I have some 6mm or 1/4" wing nuts. Now that's all we're going to need. Offcut of 3/4" plywood, just a scrap piece, and we're going to make this. Now, like I said, if you're out on site and you don't have access to all this stuff, you can do this with just 4 screws and a piece of 2x1 lat. It's the same principle. Just put the screws in where you will put the nut. You won't have adjustment in your thing, but you can set it to whatever size you need and just use it quickly. I'll show you that when we're assembling anyway. So let's crack on now. That's all we need. Piece of scrap plywood, a few nuts, a few bolts, and we're ready to go. Okay, the first job is just to rip this piece of plywood in half. Now, this is just an offcut I have, and it happens to be 110mm, so it's nearly 4.5 inches. So I'm just going to rip it in half, and that will do. That'll just give me just over 2 inches either side, or just over 50mm either side, which is perfect for what we need. So rip this in half. Okay, that's our 2 pieces in half. Now I'm just going to rip a slot down the middle of these with the router so I can make these adjustable. Now, like I said, if you're out on site, you have some 2x1 lat, you can make these just with screws. So just get 2 pieces of 2x1 lat, cut a piece top and bottom, and just drive a screw in. So just measure exactly the width of what you're trying to clamp. Put your 2x1 lat here and here, drive a screw in here, drive a screw in here, and it will do the exact same thing. Nice, quick, simple, and easy. But I'm going to make ones that we can use for different size glue ups, different size boards, whatever we're clamping together, and we can make ours adjustable. So let's go pull a slot in this on the router table. Okay, there's our 2 slots cut in so we can make our adjustments. Now I just have 4 pieces of 3/4" ply here. These are just 4 offcuts I have. They have beveled cuts on them. Don't worry about those, they're not needed. They just happen to be in these scrap pieces. So what I'm going to do now is just drill roughly in the center. This does not have to be bang on accurate. Like I said, you can make these nice and easy. So I'm just going to drill a countersink hole with a Forstner bit. Just like that. I have a 6.5 brad point bit then, just to drill through, and my bolt will sit in there just like that. So it's just flush fit. So I have 4 more of them to do. I'll get on and do that, and we can assemble this, and it's just that quick and simple. Okay, that's the 4 of those done. Now what I have to do is just drill a 6mm hole in the end of our 2. long pieces, again, I'm just eyeballing this. No measurements required. Stick one nut through there, or one bolt I should say one bolt through there. Just put a little washer on that. Just like that. Wing nut on both sides. Tighten that down. Same on this one. And then our adjustment pieces, it's the same thing again. Just put the nut, or the bolt, I should say, through the slot, just like that. Drop a washer on top of both of them, and 2 wing nuts. And that's our clamps made. Nice and simple. Took 5 minutes to assemble them. And like I said, you can make this out of 2x1 lat if you don't have a circular saw, or if you don't have a cabinet saw or a bench saw or anything like that. You can just make them from 2x1 lats, and it's nice and quick and easy with some screws if you need an extra couple of clamps. So that's it. That's our 2 clamps done. Now I'll show you a couple of variations of these, and I'll show you how they work in action. I'll show you these ones first. Okay, let me give you a demonstration of how these work. So we have a few boards here that, let's say, we want to glue up. So we put these together like normal. Get our clamps, put our top piece against this, slide that up against there, tighten that guy down just like that. Do the same with this one. Get them nice and tight. You know, like I said, you can make any number of these you want pretty quick. They're just working on a lever and a wedge action, that's all. So we have 2 nice big long levers here, and we have wedges. And all I have to do then is, once they are tightened down, make sure everything is nice and flat, is just force them out. And you get quite a lot of pressure in these, and quite a lot of force. It's more than enough to glue something up. A couple of calls across that to keep everything nice and flat, and that's more than enough pressure now to glue up your boards for whatever you're trying to make, whether it's a top for a box, a tabletop, whatever. These are great, quick, nice and simple, and they're very, very effective. Now there's a couple of other variations which I shall now show you. Okay, so here's variation number 1, where we have a single top piece here, which both of these parts are affixed to. That allows you, I suppose, to get more pressure in the center of your board. This will send pressure up to the edge of your board. It's actually a little bit easier to use like this. So again, we just want to get everything nice and flat, and I can just start to wedge these apart, and I can get quite a lot of force in that now as well. That's quite a good option. I do like this, and again, you can make up a number of these if you're depending on the size of the workpiece that you're doing, but that's quite a lot of clamping force there now as well. A couple of smaller ones out on the edges, you can make them any size you want. Like I said, the only disadvantage I suppose to this one is it takes up a lot of space, and you might not be able to get some clamping force out toward your edges, whereas the individual ones, you could put 2 to the edge and 1 to the center type thing. And that would give you an even spread of clamping force. Now, there is another variation then. We'll just get that one out of the way. And that is, I've often seen them made this way with 2 circular parts on the bottom. So I've just cut these out with a 3-inch hole saw or a 70mm hole saw. That's actually 3 1/8 inches, I think. And I've seen them done a lot this way. I'm not a big fan of this. I just feel it doesn't catch as well as the flat pieces. It does get a nice wedging action, but yeah, I just don't feel it is as secure as using straight pieces. So you can get a nice wedging action going, and the nice thing is the disc actually turns, so it rolls out and it allows you to get that a bit tighter. But I'm not overly keen on them, I will be honest. They do work, but you see they can kind of slip off. So I think you get much more clamping force, and they're much more stable when you use the long flat pieces at the bottom. But again, this is another way you can do it, where you can get quite a lot of force, but they're not as good as you can see. So I don't recommend using these. I would use a straight piece rather than the 2 circular pieces. But I have seen them done this way, and I've seen them being used successfully that way too. So it is an option. Okay guys, that's just a quick look at a bunch of clamps now together. So we have the two joint at the top and we have a singular one on its own. So I have complete clamping pressure now all the way across those boards. So they work actually quite well. Like I said, keep it nice and flat, a couple of clamping coils across here, and you should be good to go. It's a great option. Again, if you're on a budget, you want to make your own clamps, or if you're short a few clamps, you can whip these up in minutes. So there we go. So that's all good clamping force, nice and even across the length of our boards there with that particular setup. So I like this option. I like this option. I'm not a kind of a fan of the round option, although it does kind of work, I suppose. Okay guys, there we go. A nice, short, handy video for you. Some great little accessories, I think, for the workshop. And like I said, if you're on a budget, you can whip these up at a 2x4s. If you don't have a table saw, maybe you have a skill saw, you can rip a slot with your skill saw. You don't have to cut your 2x1 lats down. You can just chop them to make your various components. A few bolts, a few washers, a couple of wing nuts, and you're laughing. Again, if you're out on site and you don't have bolts with you, you can just use 2 screws. Again, they will be disposable clamps you will be making. You make them the exact size you need, drive 2 screws in and wedge them out, and they will do the job for you out on site as well. So that's it guys, hopefully you've enjoyed that. Hopefully you've got something out of it. They're a great little set of clamps, and like I said, they're a real money saver if you make up a few of them. And like I said, even if you're short a few clamps, it's easy, whip them together. So that's it guys, I'm going to get out of here now. As always, comments and questions below. Give the video a thumbs up if you like it, and if you're new here, think about subscribing. That all helps me out a lot. So until the next one guys, take it easy, mind yourselves. I shall see you then.